Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be finishing up this sketchbook. This is actually part 2. If you didn't see part 1, basically what I'm doing is I'm finishing up what I call my ugly sketchbook. I intentionally bought this poor quality sketchbook to almost give myself permission to experiment and have fun. I've since kind of gotten over that mental barrier and I want to work in sketchbooks that I actually enjoy and paper that's actually meant for the materials that I use. But I'm also on a mission this year to use up all of my materials, so I didn't want to just throw half of this book away. So I'm just going to speed run the rest of this book. Now this bear here, I do like how it turns out, but much like my other paintings in this book, it doesn't turn out all that great, I guess technical skill wise, because this paper just isn't meant for any sort of wet medium. It does okay with colored pencils and graphite, but it just doesn't hold water well. It warps almost immediately. It has the finish and the weight of basically printer paper. So imagine trying to do watercolor on printer paper. That's what I was working with. All things considered though, I do think that this bear turned out great. I had a lot of fun playing with the values and trying to introduce some fun colors, even though the reference, it was just a brown bear. I do go back and forth a little bit with trying to take some of the moisture out, and then I try to come back in with more moisture, but it was like less watery watercolor. It was a little bit of back and forth in the beginning, but I was kind of warming up as well. I haven't really explicitly said it yet, but the notebook that I'm using is a Paper Age. I call it a sketchbook. I think it's called a Paper Age blank notebook. I know that I've been calling it like poor quality and kind of seeming negative about it, but I purchased these books intentionally for the purpose of having a no pressure sketchbook. So in that, it really did serve its purpose. If you need a book like that, I definitely would recommend the Paper Age notebook. But as far as like any sort of quality art or really anything outside of pencils, I would not get this book. I really like the idea of using the fuchsia pink as like a highlight color and the indigo as the shadow, and I think I'll use that again in other paintings. After I finished this spread, I had no idea what I wanted to illustrate. I just knew I wanted to do a bunch of things and it really didn't matter. I just wanted to fill the pages. So I found a prompt list. I found Peachtober's prompt list for 2025 and I was working off of that. On this spread here, I did kite and acorns. I'm really not trying to be negative this whole video and talk about everything that I hate about these spreads, which I didn't hate them. I had a lot of fun doing them. But like I said, the paper was just working against me and I don't think anything really turned out the way that I had planned. For some reason with this kite, I decided to go for my colored pencils. I think I was a little tired of fighting with the paper, but the whole reason why I was painting is because I didn't really feel like working with dry mediums. Like I was feeling really inspired to paint, which is the case most days now. But I thought maybe I would try to get this kite done with colored pencils. I think it shows that like I really wasn't feeling inspired by the colored pencils. It's not really colored in that well. And then the way that I did the pattern, I did way too many triangles and not enough colors. So you'll see once I get to the bottom here, I just kind of filled it in with the green and the blue. I do like the way that it turned out though. I like all of the colors together. Oh yeah, I did clean it up with this Tombow pen. I love this Tombow pen. I want to get more Tombow markers in different colors, especially in a brown. I did all of these sketches in brown and I'm really liking the warmer tone for like liners and sketching. I've actually been thinking about getting a fountain pen for sketching in brown, but we'll see. Moving on to the acorns, I like the way that these acorns turned out, but for some reason I went really realistic, which if you've seen any of my stuff like on my shorter videos recently, I've really been pushing for more of an impressionistic look, or I guess painterly, like modern impressionism, I guess you could call it. But basically I'm trying to loosen up with my brush strokes and my colors and really focus on capturing the light without being too strict about, I guess, the shape, and really just focusing on capturing the light. honestly, I think I was just out of practice with working with gouache. I've been working with acrylic so much. I really do love acrylic. There's just something freeing about knowing that you can cover any of it up. It dries down completely. It's not going anywhere. The impermanence of that is just really freeing to me. You have some of that freedom with gouache, like it is very opaque and you can layer it, but to a certain extent, you do have to be careful about too much moisture on top of layers. It will bleed in, the layers will bleed into each other because that water is going to go through all of the layers and reactivate the paint. And I've also just been playing around with colors and really just getting the impression of what I'm seeing. But for some reason, I just decided to go very literal with these acorns. I think they turned out good. Just not particularly my style as of late. And I really had been perfecting those impressionistic techniques and those bold brush strokes in acrylic. I hadn't used my gouache before these spreads for a couple weeks. That was until I got this new palette and I filled it with all of my gouaches, and that kind of like re-inspired me to use them because they were all in front of me and I guess I didn't have to go digging around for them. It lowered the barrier of entry for it. On these first couple of spreads, I kind of had to like dig those gouache techniques out of my brain. Once I got warmed up though, I was feeling really good about it. As I move on to the poppies, I was starting to loosen up a little bit more. I absolutely love this blue that I mixed together. I have one really dark blue that, it's a very peacock blue. It's G865 hummingbird blue actually in Holbein gouache. It's such a beautiful hue, but it's very dark. But if you mix it with white, that beautiful hue is kind of like intensified. I love it. As I start to fill out the details here on these poppies, I'm letting those brush strokes kind of show and I'm getting out of that bad habit of wanting to blend everything into oblivion. With shapes like this, I feel like you really have to get the curvature and the angles of those detail lines kind of like perfect or it doesn't look right, at least not to me. I feel like I didn't get them all perfectly correct with these poppies. The one on the bottom I feel like is the best representation. At this point I was still loosening up, so I don't think that those details are as great as they could have been, but I still really like it. I also love the pop of yellow that I put in here. I think that really adds to it. That's another thing that I've been working on is playing with color. I love having just a little tiny bit of like that pop of color, like especially with yellows and pinks and oranges, just having a little bit of that poking out in certain spaces or even like mixed in with the highlight. I think that looks so good. I also really like this green that I used for the stem. It was more of like a sagey muted green, and I used Holbein elm green, which is a little bit more of like a muted kind of olive green, but I mixed a little bit of that blue in there, so it kind of turned it a little sagey. And I really liked how that looked with the blue of the poppy. This next page here, I have a little bit of the footage of the sketch, mostly because I liked the sketch better than I did the actual painting of it. I don't show all the sketching, but I did want to leave some sketching in here. This is actually a sea slug. The prompt was slug, and I didn't want to do just like a regular old land slug. I don't know if you've ever seen the sea slugs. They're super tiny and they're always so vibrant in color. I've done a couple in the past, but I've never done this particular kind of sea slug. It was really hard, and I'm not sure that I did it justice. I think I did okay, but the shape of its scales, I don't know what those are called, but the shape of his little prongs, I guess, are very unusual. And I feel like this is the first time I've ever drawn them. As you can see, they're all very different shapes. I wouldn't mind doing this again though, because I feel like his face is so cute. Over on the left here was the prompt ring, and I did a fairy ring. So all of these little circles are going to be mushrooms. I wanted to do a fairy ring because I kind of wanted to play with the calligraphy brush that I have. When I was filming this, the calligraphy brush there was still very new to me, so I kind of wanted to do, I was really excited to do like grass and kind of like organic shapes with it. Getting into coloring the slug here, there was a few things working against me. Obviously the paper, it just isn't good, as we know, but I really wanted to do like a watercolor washi thing. Like I'm still using gouache here, but I watered it down a lot. What that did was lift the pen because it wasn't a waterproof pen, but it also just was wreaking havoc on this paper. My reference photo, the way that it was colored, it really could have used like some really light, delicate washes. I feel like if this was on paper that could handle it, it would have ended up so beautiful with the vision I had. Going into it, I knew that it probably wasn't gonna work out, but I still wanted to try because the reference photo was so pretty and the colors were so vibrant, so it was worth a try. But after I got that wash in, I moved on to the fairy ring. Start off by just like throwing a bunch of greens down, and then I come in with a little bit of a darker green to start with those shadows. And I really like how messy I did this. The dark green of the shadows of the grass kind of bled into the bottom of the red mushrooms. And as we know, green is the complementary color of red. So when you mix them together, they make a really pretty shadow color. So you'll see here when I start to put the red color in the actual mushrooms, it's kind of got like a built-in shadow. I did come in to refine those shadows a little bit more, but that was really cool to see the green coming through and doing that work for me. I think that's something that I'm going to do intentionally in the future. With the mushrooms too, I really wasn't worried about it looking too realistic. By this time I was kind of really warmed up and kind of just playing around. I wanted it to look a little messy, a little impressionistic, and by the end I really like the way that it turns out. I did take a little bit of artistic liberties with the flowers, and I put a couple little like brown mushrooms, or I guess suggestions of brown mushrooms around and intertwined with the red mushrooms. What I was most excited about were these grass blades. For the longest time, I've been trying to find something that creates a grass blade that actually looks like grass, like it looks like an organic shape. If you're looking for a paintbrush that will give you beautiful grass blades and leaves in organic shapes, trust me, you want to get a Chinese calligraphy pen. I think they're meant for ink, but they work really well with watercolor and gouache. I know that sounds like an ad, but it's not. This is just a random brush off of Amazon. It's just, I saw these brushes on like TikTok and shorts for the longest time. Like I saw this shape, but I never knew what it was called. And there's all kinds of them too. But this one is specifically labeled for Chinese painting. And that's going to be the fairy ring finished. So moving back to the slug, my original plan with these stripes was to do pink and yellow, but when I went to do the pink, for some reason I just thought maybe it would be too much, because the sea slug itself is blue and kind of like yellow and orange, and I don't know if it would have added to it or not, but I just decided to not introduce another color. I ended up cutting a lot of the sea slug out just because it was a lot of me just like fiddling and just kind of like making stupid mistakes. Like I was working too fast, so all the colors were bleeding together. When I did his eyeball, I immediately put like water under it, so it looked like his eye was melting down his face. I wasn't waiting for anything to dry. The colors weren't showing up the way that I wanted them to, and then it was just bad, and I was like panicking, and by the end there I kind of just accepted that it was going to be what it was going to be, and I added his little white freckles, I guess. I thought they were cute, and just kind of moved on. This spread right here is going to be 2 prompts. It's gingham. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And I think critter was the prompt for the little mouse. I actually had to look up the pattern prompt, and I still don't know 100% if this is right, because when I searched it, I got a bunch of like plaid, but a lot of it was like this really simple plaid where it's just horizontal and vertical lines of like the same color. So I'm pretty sure this is right. Regardless, I like the way that it turned out. I like the simplicity of it. And then the mouse over to the right, I really like how he turned out. He looks really stylized to me. I don't often draw little characters or rodents or anything, so this was really fun to do. And I just didn't want to ruin it. I felt like all of my sketches that I worked so hard on and for the past like 3 or 4 pages were just ruined by me trying to paint them. So I decided to do a kind of like a negative space thing, and I just did his background, the same color as the gingham. And then kind of a last minute decision, I also made his eyeball red, which I realized that makes him an albino mouse, which I actually had albino mice when I was younger. So that kind of made me like the spread even more. Moving on to the prompt brush, I did a bunch of my brushes actually. My brushes on my desk sit right in front of me, so I just kind of like looked up and used them for reference. So the idea that I had for this spread was that I was going to continue to use my gouache to paint the actual brush, the handle, the metal part, and the bristles, but I wanted them to look like they had paint on them. But for the actual paint, I used acrylic paint so that I could put a lot on there and make it kind of like a textured experience. I love the idea of mixing gouache and acrylic. Every time I've tried to do it in the past, it just has not worked out because they don't play well together. But I think the contrast of the finishes, gouache being really matte, acrylic being really shiny, I think that looks so good if it's done well. And I think that it looked pretty good on this. Like, because of the subject, it made sense, which made it look good, in my opinion. I'm not used to drawing metal like gold and silver, but I remember someone saying to make metal look realistic, you have to make the contrast really high. So I made sure I did that, and I feel like it came out okay. Just as a side note as well, I don't know if you even noticed, but throughout this video, I've been kind of like moving things around and playing with angles. I'm kind of out of practice with filming myself making art. I'm not exactly sure yet where I want my mixing palette and my paints and everything, and what I want in screen and what angle I want to have it at. And throughout this entire video, I was just moving everything around. I don't think it's too bad. I didn't notice it too much. Sorry if it bothers you, but throughout this video I was struggling a little bit. I love doing acrylic paintings and sketchbooks, but acrylic is just so sticky. And sometimes it's okay, but a lot of the times it kind of like ruins itself. There for a while I was working with a lot of Meeden paint, and that was okay. In the sketchbook, it still was really sticky, but I feel like it didn't tear all that much. Like, it wasn't sticky enough to tear. I since have moved on to Liquitex acrylic basics, and I feel like that's more sticky. And the last illustration that I did with that, I feel like has just like ruined itself. For me, like opening the book and trying to look at it. I have varnish. I really should varnish it, and that would take away some of the stickiness. I even had the thought to like put some baby powder on it, but then that would just make it like matte and cloudy, and I don't think that I would like that. And when I put this acrylic on this sketchbook spread, I was really going for like a goopy textured look, so I really put a lot here. After I did the spread, I did have to let it sit overnight because it was just so much paint. And then you'll see the circles over on the left. That technically was a Peachtober prompt. It was meant to be sour, but I got 2 candies confused because I think what I drew is a jawbreaker, like those big candies that you're supposed to suck on forever and they change color, and then like in the commercial they had like cut it in half to show you like all the rings of like all the flavors. I drew that, but a jawbreaker isn't sour, I don't think. I was thinking of like Warhead or maybe like those lemon drop candies. But that's not what I drew. I drew a jawbreaker. I don't know. It's been a while since I had any of those, and I didn't think it was that serious, so I just kind of continued with it. This is actually the next day because, like I said, I had to let that dry for quite a long time. But this is the very last spread of the sketchbook. Hopefully the very last time I will have to attempt to do a painting on printer paper. From now on, I'm not going to be buying these kind of like intentionally poor quality sketchbooks. I'm just going to work in the sketchbooks that I like and the ones that actually take the mediums that I own like they're supposed to. And I'm not sure that these root vegetables go with any of the actual Peachtober prompts. I just wanted to do root vegetables. I don't know why. wanted to. But I did a carrot that's kind of weirdly shaped. I did a hemlock carrot, so that's poisonous. The purple bulb is a purple carrot, but if you've ever planted carrots, you'll know you have to mix the soil with sand or it's not like loose enough for it to grow down. A couple years back, grew a bunch of carrots and I didn't know that. I just kind of like put them in the ground and they all ended up being these stubby little carrots like that. So I drew that one, and then I did a radish. I love these red radishes. They're so good. The big purple one, I feel like I've seen that on Pinterest so many times. And I keep wanting to call it a rhubarb, but I know that's not a rhubarb. A rhubarb is almost like a colorful like stalk of celery. So I don't know what that's called, but I've seen it on Pinterest and I thought it was pretty. One thing I'm really impressed with is the shading on the little red radish. I thought that turned out great. And by the time I got over to the right to the banner that I drew of "The End By," I just didn't feel like shading or coloring or painting, so I did the same thing I did with the mouse, and I just did a negative space thing. Looking back on it, I probably could have just did nothing with it. I feel like it would have looked good to have just the line art, but it's fine. I also missed a spot under the end, but I think that's pretty fitting because by this time I was so over the sketchbook. I was so ready to be done with the sketchbook. The next sketchbook I'm going to be filling out, because I'm finishing up all of my sketchbooks that have just been laying around. I have a moleskin that is actually, at the time of me doing this voiceover, is almost finished. I have a couple more spreads. Also, from here on out, I don't think I'm going to be filming and making a video for every single spread that I do. I didn't mind doing it for this one because these really were really quick illustrations and I kind of just powered through. But now that I'm in my moleskin sketchbook and the paper is a little bit better and I'm kind of enjoying myself a little bit more, I'm getting to have those nights where I'm just enjoying painting and like maybe watching a video, or I don't really have a plan for anything, or I don't feel like setting up the camera. I'm still going to show you guys a lot, and I'm plan on making videos every single week, but you might not see all the spreads until the sketchbook tour at the end. All right, so finally, my last ugly sketchbook is done. I will not be buying another one of these paper age sketchbooks, which I'm not mad at it. It served its purpose, but I am very much ready to do some illustrations on some better paper. I started this sketchbook about 6 months ago, so I feel like that's a fair amount of time. Granted, the first part of the sketchbook was done in probably like 5 months, and then the second half was done in 1 month, which is fine. I don't think that I'm going to be doing a sketchbook tour for this book, just because it's a lot, and I don't know, I'm just kind of really ready to move on. So just a quick flip through though of what we were able to get done today. We have the bear. I like how it turned out. It was kind of messy and I did struggle a little bit with getting warmed up on this one, but I really like how it turned out, and I like the pink that I added. I think that was a great addition. This is just me playing with ink. I didn't actually show you guys that. Here is the kite and the acorns. I like them, but I definitely needed to warm up, and I think that shows in here. The poppies I really like. They're looking a little bit more expressive, a little bit more like my style. My fairy ring I love. I absolutely love the way that this came out. I like how expressive it is, and I like the technique of the kind of dual shadow and the grass and the mushrooms that I kind of figured out. Here's my sea slug. I like it. It's just, it gave me so much trouble, and the techniques that I were trying to do just are not meant for this sketchbook, and that's fine. The sketch was really cute though, and I think it still kind of comes through that he kind of still looks like a cute little guy, so that's fine. This spread I really like. I like the simplicity of it. I like that I didn't ruin the sketch, and I got to keep my little mouse. I like that I did the eye red, so he's kind of like a little albino mouse. This spread was really fun and actually ended up pretty textured. I mean, all of the paper in here is textured, but the paint itself is really textured. I think that was a fun little detail. And then my root vegetables, I really liked these. I like how they turned out. Despite the paper, I feel like everything really came together. And that is the end of the sketchbook. Sketchbook number 5. Sketchbook number 6 is going to be a moleskin sketchbook. This one, to be exact. I have been working my way through it. Oh my goodness, you hear that cracking? Acrylic ASMR. All of these acrylic pages I did kind of on TikTok. This is before like I came back to YouTube. Recently I've been doing more gouache stuff, and I did record some of these, and there'll be videos coming out for those, but not every single spread in here am I going to make a YouTube video out of. Because this paper is better, I've just been enjoying the process of painting again and having those nights where I'm just kind of like chilling, watching YouTube videos and painting. So I don't always want to set the camera up. And also I've been averaging out to like 1 to 2 spreads a night, and that's just a lot to film. If I filmed every single one, I would never get through all the footage posting one a week. The ones that you don't see, I'll definitely do a sketchbook tour, so you'll see all of them. But if you want to see them before that, I actually post my spreads to Instagram and TikTok every single night when I do them, which is about every night. So if you want more artwork from me, that's definitely where you'll get it. But yeah, so thanks so much for watching me finish my last ugly sketchbook. The sketchbook speed run was very fun, and I'm definitely glad to be done with it and on to better sketchbooks. So yeah, until next time, bye.